Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. So with the cricket series just getting over and now the Asian Games approaching, perhaps time to ask that question. Is it really about to happen that other sports are going to overtake cricket? Is India going to remain a cricketing nation and only a cricketing nation, or are other sports starting to catch up? Is it possible that other sports will also start to have their moment in the sun here in India? It's been a perennial question, but we have a fantastic panel of guests who've each in their own way illustrated that, perhaps change is coming up or perhaps not, who knows. So I'm going to start off by welcoming Priyanka Chopra onto this program. Priyanka, who's just done, of course, a fantastic job as Mary Com, has really brought boxing in a sense into everyone's eyes. So Priyanka, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be talking to you about Mary Com and a lot more. And by the way, fantastic, congratulations for that really fantastic performance out there. Charu Sharma, who's done, well, you haven't acted as anything, Charu, but you have really, 3 years ago we met and you said Kabaddi is going to be the next big sport. And at that time, I'm not sure how many people believed you, but you stuck with it and now you have proved it. So can everyone put a hand together for him? For bringing Kabaddi.
Thank you.
One of the people who's behind Kabaddi who brought it there. Latika Khaneja, who represents a whole lot of cricket stars and makes them really rich superstars. Are people about to make a lot of money in other sports?
We've always tried. Okay,
Jagbir Singh represents a sport that actually is India's national sport, but has somehow gone away from people's visibility. Certainly the visibility has been gone, and that, I don't know if it's because of the performance or other. Former hockey player for India, so it's great to have you with us, and we'll be talking to you about where exactly hockey is going. It's a great pleasure to have joining us Satpal Singh, who is the wrestling coach of Sushil Kumar. He's a Dronacharya winner, which is of course the #1 award which there is for a coach. So it's an honor, sir, to have you with us, and on a sport like wrestling, which some will feel might be actually may well deserve to be India's national sport. And we also have with us Atul Vasan, representing, well, the sport of cricket, which we try not to watch when they play test cricket these days, especially outside the country, but then they make up a bit in one-day ground. So let's get started. Priyanka, why don't I start off with you? Now, with the attention that the film has got, do you think boxing as a sport is going to really get its position in the sun?
I do think so. First of all, I'm really of the belief that sports should be made mandatory in schools. I think children today, because of television and media and internet, they never get the, not just for exercise, but the competitiveness and the spirit of sport, which is to be able to play together, but yet at the same time to be able to win, to strive to win. We've lost that somewhere. I really do. I hope it happens. But besides that, I do think that, Indians are getting a little bit more aware of other sports besides just cricket. Whether it's kabaddi, hockey, football, and now boxing, not just for females, but for people in general. It's a really fun sport. It's a contact sport. It's great for anger management. And at the same time, it's hugely competitive. So it's a super fun sport.
A bit of a double whammy out there, because first of all, this is about a sport like boxing, which is not cricket, and therefore people wonder whether it's saleable in India. And then it's about a female, and there's another question about whether female sports is going to get its position in the sun. So one is non-cricket sport, and the second is female sports in general.
We've addressed the issue in the film a lot, where people say that, boxing is not for girls, and agar face pe lag jayega, to shadi kaun karega? Who's going to marry you? When you get married and have children, how will you have a sport? How will you play a sport like that? So that is a huge problem. And like when you watch the film, we've addressed this, and you'll see that so many families, like Mary's family, who eventually accepted it, her husband, who eventually stood for her and became the man behind the successful woman, and gave her wings to be able to be and fly. And today, after having 3 children, Mary is still going and competing in the Asian Games and representing India. And I think that's a testament to women out there, and to people, Indians especially, out there, to say that, why can't a woman have a successful career and a successful home, personal life?
Face pe lag jayega to shadi kaun karega. So you were telling me a short while back that you have scars all over you. Face, hand, name it.
These are war scars.
Ouch. Those look really
my face
bruised.
Was all right. It wasn't that bad because we wear protective gear. But my arms, my thumb doesn't bend anymore. Like soldiers get, you know, these scars that they wear as their medals. I think I'm going to do that with mine. I was a soldier for this movie.
Priyanka, just stay on with us. So that's boxing, and you know, Mary Com and others bringing it to the forefront. Charu, let me get you in on Kabaddi. Did you ever anticipate in your wildest dreams that Kabaddi could one day be competing with cricket for airtime?
Well, I don't know about competing with cricket, but on its own, it was always meant to be, in my eyes, in my thoughts, a very strong sport, a sport that deserved much more than it had gotten over the years, and which is why I crusaded for so many years. So I am, of course, very pleasantly surprised at the magnitude, at the extent to which it seems to have been successful, and I say that with all humility. But as a sport itself, it had everything going for it. It has everything going for it, including, of course, history and heritage and tradition, and now the modern sophistication of an international world-class sport. So it had all the ingredients except a couple of things. One, good television, and two, of course, respect and pride in what is our own, in what we are best at in the world. And somehow, despite huge spectator support for the game, as you may know, anywhere, anytime, any place and at any level, Kabaddi enjoys tremendous spectator support. But somehow the sport had gone underground because, and I really shouldn't be using this word, not here, not today, because this 5-letter word that pays a lot of attention to some things and not to others, didn't somehow take to it, the media. And
it's okay. It's always the media's fault.
All right,
the media's fault.
But you know what I mean. Attention has to be given.
Okay.
And
attention has to be given. Is that the problem hockey faces also?
Well, not really, because the first time when we talk about a movie being played, Chak De India was the most popular movie in any sport. We had Premier Hockey League launched before IPL. So it was not that things were not happening for hockey. It was more of off-field controversies which kept pushing hockey aside, in spite having the best records in the world. 8 times Olympic champions, the star players, everything was available for hockey. But yes, we had the medals and cricket had the money.
But, can I just say, but you have to look at the saleability factor. So Latika, if at the end of the day cricket makes all the money and the other sports don't make all the money, is it because at the end of the day, that's what people want to watch? This is the cricketing nation, people love their cricket, and so that's where the money will flow into?
No, I think cricket was always identified as something that the audience was interested in and they were watching, and I think it's just been taken through in a much better fashion. When you think of 20 years ago, people were not watching the kind of television they were, recognition came. Even 10 years ago or 12 years ago, when we started with Sehwag and we started with Dinesh Mongia and other cricketers who had joined the league, there was only a Sachin Tendulkar. So everything is a process of evolution. First you need recognition, you need the media to cover it, need the audience to watch it.
Is it chicken and egg is what I'm trying to ask.
Absolutely.
Now what's going to start happening? As India does well, you get interest, and once you get interest, then the sponsorship starts to flow.
Yeah.
Is it a bit chicken and egg?
Sports needs heroes, and I think what this movie has done, and what even for some extent Bhag Milkha Singh has done, is that it's made a hero from a sport. That all becomes aspirational. Women want to then get into the sport because Mary Com has. It has a number of multiplier effects, and the whole idea, I think, is to sort of make it popular whichever route you decide to take. So I don't think it's so much about chicken and egg. I think it's about panorama, about how much you can actually capture in a 360-degree
okay, so you need heroes. That's an interesting point. So let's look at, for example, another sport. Let's look at something like wrestling, which along with Kabaddi is a sort of a sport which is actually very much in the Indian ethos. For centuries, these are sports that we have done at the ground level, and now they're heroes too. So why is that sport not coming up further? As I said, it's an honor to have Satpal Singh with us, Dronacharya Award winner, wrestling coach of Sushil Kumar. Satpal Singh ji, the wrestling, a sport like wrestling, what is it going to take to make that like one of the premier sports in the country?
तभी जो भारत का कुश्ती की जो टीम है वो बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग है अभी, और इन्होंने उसको दिखा भी दिया है। ओलंपिक में 3 मेडल, वर्ल्ड में 5 मेडल, और पहली बार कुश्ती भारत की जो है वो विश्व में 6ठे नंबर की टीम बनी है। अभी पीछे जब मैं लंदन ओलंपिक में जब हम गए थे तो वहाँ एक लाइन लिखी थी कि बच के रहना इंडिया सुशील कुमार सुशील से। तो मेरा कहने का मतलब, अब कुश्ती भारत का एक बहुत ही पॉपुलर, पहले से ही पॉपुलर था, लेकिन अभी जो प्रदर्शन हो रहा है वो बहुत ही बेहतरीन हो रहा है।
तो सतपाल सिंह जी, अगर आप देखेंगे अब कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स हो रहा है, ओलंपिक्स हो रहा है, एशियन गेम्स हो रहे हैं, इन सारे गेम्स में जब भारत के रेसलर्स जाते हैं, मेल और फीमेल दोनों जाते हैं, मेडल जीतते हैं, गोल्ड जीतते हैं, तो आपने क्या फर्क देखा है पिछले 4-5 साल में? अब स्पॉन्सरशिप लेना उतना मुश्किल नहीं है, लोगों के लिए कहना कि आप आइए कुश्ती करिए, पैसे की कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी, ये सब चीजें अब आसान हो गई हैं पहले से कि नहीं?
नहीं, पहले से बहुत आसान हो गई है। और दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि स्पॉन्सर्ड भी मिल रहे हैं, और अच्छी चीज़ क्या है कि जो भारत सरकार और राज्य सरकारें हैं उन्होंने बहुत सुविधाएं दी हैं। अभी पहले बहुत कम पेरेंट्स आते थे कुश्ती सीखने के लिए, आज इतने ज़्यादा पेरेंट्स आते हैं, और कोई भी पेरेंट्स आके ये नहीं कहता कि मुझे नेशनल चैंपियन बनाना है, वो ये कहता है कि मुझे ओलंपिक मेडल चाहिए, एशियाड का मेडल चाहिए। तो एक सोच बदल गई है, और वो सोच बदली है योगेश्वर ने, सुशील ने, अमित ने, तो उन्होंने जिस तरीके से फाइट को एक रूप दिया, जिस तरीके से उन्होंने कुश्ती को एक आकर्षण बना दिया, जो उनके दाव पेच थे, तो आज वाकई में एक कुश्ती एक आकर्षण है। जो स्पॉन्सर्ड है या जो सरकारें हैं वो भी बहुत अच्छी सुविधाएं दे रही हैं, लेकिन गुंजाइश तो हमेशा रहती है। अगर हमें एक रिकॉर्ड तोड़ना है तो उसको अच्छा करने के लिए और ज़्यादा अच्छी सुविधाएं चाहिए। अगर इन सुविधाओं को हम ज़्यादा फैलाएंगे तो हमारे पास ज़्यादा पार्टिसिपेशन आएगा।
Atul, do you agree with that point that the nation needs heroes? So one is that there are certain sports which are perhaps in our ethos and others, but as you get the heroes, that's what attracts people to the other sports. And when people start getting attracted to other sports, the sponsorship, the money, everything will start to flow automatically.
Well, it gets attention, once you win medals at the world level. But, if you see much hype is, added to events like Commonwealth Games, which is a redundant concept. If you see, compared to cricket, why it's, cricket will always, rule the roost is because, we are the world champions. We are the number one in the world. There's always a ranking thing in it. There's a glamour, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's debatable. Let's have another program on
matches,
that.
This is not the right time
but we were number one in test matches. So, but in other sports, there are weight categories, there confusion. Not many people know how many events are there in shooting, what weight categories are there. So odd medals we win, we get the attention, people follow. But unless the sport is a spectator sport, there's some glamour, money attached to it.
Cricket's going to rule.
Of course, because cricketers will always be popular because of the glamour, the money they make, the actresses they date. Do you think any model or a Bollywood actress would date a wrestler? No. So.
Your audience, hang on.
Okay.
Your audience, do you agree with that? Okay, can I ask you my audience? Now I know that many of you play other sports, so it's not a completely fair audience, representative audience. In this audience, how many people still feel that cricket is your favorite sport? How many feel cricket is your favorite sport?
I feel it's the most overhyped sport.
What? Only 3 people in this entire audience?
Whoa, you've been hammering
5 people in this entire audience.
Proud of you guys.
Something. I have to say, to be fair, I'm not sure this is a representative.
Yeah.
No,
but there's
because
40.
what has transpired in the last 20 minutes, you've been talking and we've been talking about other sports. It's changed their mindset.
You all got brainwashed from the start of things.
They all came in liking cricket.
But hang on. It is also true that many of them actually play other sports. So that's why I'm saying it's not entirely thing. You, for example, you're a shooter, right? National level shooter.
Yeah, I do shooting.
Why did you take this up?
Because when I was in school, I looked forward for Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore when he got the medal in Olympics, and that motivated me to take shooting over the other sports because it's different from other sports.
So it's the hero concept.
Yeah.
Right? You see somebody and that's why you wanted to do it. Who else? What sport do you people play?
I'm in the Indian team for shooting. I am a shooter as well, but I don't think we need heroes to start a trend, actually, because there could have been many more heroes apart from that one hero if the people and the government would have paid more attention to that sport in the first place at the grassroots level. So there can be not just one Mary Kom but 1,000 Mary Koms if you know.
What made you decide to become a shooter? I mean, you're in the Indian shooting team. What made you decide to do it? Because shooting, I always get baffled as to how come India is so great in shooting, because look at the amount of infrastructure that's required, the equipment that's required, it's an expensive. I get boxing, I get wrestling, I get kabaddi, but shooting, why?
I started shooting in 2012 end. I got into the Indian team after a year of shooting. So I adapted to the sport quite well. I was passing through the Tughlakabad Karni Singh range. I live in Faridabad. So I just asked my dad, what's that? So he told me it's a shooting range. So I just entered. And
a year later you were in the Indian
Yes,
Indian
I'm in
team.
the Indian team.
Very good.
Seeing as the Indian team does rather well, I'm suddenly very optimistic about the future of shooting in the country. Lots more medals.
If you're asking, it's also aptitude. Because, a lot of the Indian psyche has what shooting requires as a sport. Not that I mean to...
Good brain.
Just calmness, stillness of mind and many other things. But you're right about infrastructure. We could have many more.
It's not that. What is it?
Step outside, see the traffic, and come.
We hire physiotherapists.
No, but he's saying
mental
naturally
trainers.
shooting is a sport that should come well to Indians.
Yes, that should be. There should be many more shooters. You should, coming up.
We get a ton of gold. We get a ton of medals in shooting.
Yes,
That's the point. I think you just need a bat and a ball, and 22 kids can play on the street.
Actually,
you need
cricket,
to. I've not even held
cricket,
a
you
gun
need
in my hand.
Cricket,
How
you need a
hard
bat
it
and a
is.
ball, and 2 kids can play. Frankly, and I see it every
So you need a gun, you need a shooting range, you need a lot of infrastructure. So I think it's more accessible. Anybody can start playing cricket at any time. That's
Okay.
why.
So can I
The
just?
best thing is that you only need
But that's
10
the problem with
countries.
hockey also, by the
And
way.
you only need 10 nations to
equipment.
compete with.
To become world champs.
To become world champions, not 150 nations.
No, I mean.
See, ultimately, it's about visibility. जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. But सब कुछ बिकाऊ नहीं होता है. So everybody
Point
would
is
like
that
to play cricket. I don't want to hold a cricket bat.
128 countries play cricket. They are part of ICC. Only 10 of them are good enough to play test cricket.
Yeah, but look at the competitive level which they compete with. If you play with Bangladesh, we can win Bangladesh anytime we want. So it's not that competitive.
No, hang on. It's not that hockey is played by more countries than cricket.
See,
I mean,
why?
Much more. Look at the European
Shooting
structure. Look at the Australian structure. Wherever you talk about, in Asia also you talk about, you've got
It's
6
a
top teams
sport
playing.
thing. I think we'll always be
सतपाल
good.
सिंह जी, एक तरह से जो इक्विपमेंट की बात हो रही है कि कौन से स्पोर्ट्स में इंडिया लोग भाग लेंगे, जो अतुल जी क्रिकेट के बारे में कह रहे हैं वो कुश्ती के बारे में और भी सही है, एक तरह से बॉक्सिंग के बारे में भी सही है, कबड्डी के बारे में सही है कि उनके लिए कोई खास इक्विपमेंट की जरूरत नहीं है. हर एक गांव में लोग कुश्ती खेलते हैं.
नहीं बिल्कुल, लेकिन अब इक्विपमेंट की जरूरत है. इक्विपमेंट अगर मैट्स पे कुश्ती होती है, अब कॉस्ट्यूम और रेसलिंग शूज वो जरूरी है. दूसरी बात मैं आपको बताऊं कि मैं पिछले 47 साल से कुश्ती में हूं और आज भारत जो है वो एक कुश्ती में जो इतने अच्छे लेवल पे आया है, उसका कारण क्या है कि जो गांव के बच्चे थे उनको अब शहर में ट्रेनिंग मिलने लगी और शहर में ट्रेनिंग मिलने का मतलब जो इंटरनेशनल जो एक्सपोजर है वो बहुत ज़्यादा मिल रहा है. आज जो हम एक बहुत आधुनिक हैं, आज हमारे पास में सब पूरा एक रिकॉर्ड है हर कंट्री के पहलवान का, उनके पास वो कैसे खेलते हैं, क्या उनको कैसे हराना है, वो सारी चीज़ें आज हमारे पास अवेलेबल हैं. तो इसी वजह से वो एक चीज़ नहीं है, बहुत समय लगा कुश्ती को एक इस मुकाम पर पहुंचाने के लिए.
Jay, Latika, I want to come to you on the facilities versus ability. So one is natural aptitude that Charu was saying, we are good. But otherwise, in a sport like shooting, what is it that makes people take it up, and why does India do so well at it when that's not necessarily something where we have the infrastructure for to that same extent? I mean, how many shooting ranges are there? How many people in India can afford to go take up a sport like shooting?
Yeah. No, I think it's a very cerebral sport. I think to that extent we have aptitude in it. It's
like wrestling and billiards. We do well in these because they're a bit more cerebral than pure.
Well, wrestling is not really so much about cerebral. Kabaddi and I mean they're all aptitude sports, but I think it all goes down to the heroes. See what she's also saying, that Abhinav Bindra did well. A fund was created. Somebody recognized it. There was a Lakshmi Nivas Mittal fund that identified a few medal winners and a few areas. After all, you can't start concentrating on the entire thing. That's a government prerogative. But you'll get a lot of private individuals. Monet has been looking into boxing. I think probably someday somebody will open up a wrestling league. The media would probably contribute. What I would imagine the way forward for wrestling, that you end up having a program like a reality show where you actually bring people on and you actually sort of root for different people and then you get a champion.
So
pretty much
basically
like
do what Charu did with Kabaddi, right Charu?
Well, yeah, that was a league already created. I mean, something more like your fast bowler show or something where you identify aptitude.
It's a great
and
idea.
Yeah, but I mean,
We'll
I don't
discuss
need
this.
to know everything.
That's what
We'll discuss this after the show.
There are many things that are required to take a sport up and to make sure that it hits national consciousness. But two of the most important things, of course, one is regular visibility, which and here I can say it, there are various kinds of media, but television and live television coverage regularly so is extremely important, because and that's why sadly some sports, perhaps even shooting and many others that don't have regular television coverage will always have a little spike. You'll watch a bit and then not for a long time.
Actually, all the things that we mentioned, other than the heroes thing, none of these things actually work for shooting. Is actually Even when the Commonwealth Games are on, we hardly saw some of the shooting matches.
No, but it's very interesting if you're following it.
Yeah,
it's very interesting if you're
which is
following
why
it. You're watching the
But
scores,
you
they're
hardly
very
ever see it on
fast.
TV. Even when the games are on, you hardly see it on
Vikram,
TV.
that's
But,
why
yet
But
you
everybody
see it.
does now because our people do well. So people actually say, oh, Indian shooting, I want to
but
see that section
it's
for
not
an
live
hour.
on television, and therefore the numbers are always going to be difficult. And secondly, of course, the whole concept of professionalism needs to come in. So the minute you have something which is professional, which means what? Which means that you're being remunerated for your actions or activity or your work, suddenly the ball game changes.
Okay.
Because
Let
till
me
it remains
turn to-
amateur, it's very difficult for it to flourish.